Custom. My phone just rang.
Yeah.
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning into this Power Hour. Joining me tonight. Make sure we're on the right. Whoa. Um, Once again, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me on today's Power Hour. Lena, you want to go to full camera? No screen share just yet. No.
I have no clue how to do that.
Really? All right, so I'll go back to your screen. With me today is Lena from Crypto Minds Global. She's gonna help us cover some of the news and fundamentals of what's really going on in the market. We're gonna cover some headlines and see how they relate to the BTC chart, and we're gonna cover some price action. So it's not gonna be the typical power hour you guys have been used to. We're gonna kind of switch it up a bit, add some news, talk about the FUD. Technically up some of the things that have been published and go into the details and nitty gritty. Gonna say hi to Lena, say hi to us, let me know how audio is, let us know how video is.
Yep. Thank you, George, for having me. This is Lena Hong from Crypto Minds Global, and I'm very excited to share some news with you guys. I know the market has been horrible for the past week since our dump from 7,400, where everyone was more optimistic. Currently, Bitcoin dominance is at 57.2, with Ethereum yesterday actually hit this whole year's low. I think it even hit 168. So, fear, uncertainty, and doubt is all over the market. I'm going to be covering some news that happened over the past week. So the first thing is when Goldman Sachs CEO, everybody thought that he said he was taking back the trading desk news, and everyone, that's allegedly the reason why we dumped from 7,400. And this was actually his response to that.
I cannot hear your audio at all.
So basically he's saying that it was fake news. It wasn't real. So I'm not sure what happened there, but it shows how much something like that can do to the market, and if it wasn't manipulation.
And I think when it first came out, we had a clear idea that it was fake news because just like the sources, and I think it was debunked like within a day. I think the very next day somebody came out with an article saying this thing is not real. And a lot of people blame the dip that we saw on that fake news or on the Goldman announcement. But playing the chart, we saw like a bearish divergence on RSI, and we had some short positions hedged. Personally shorted from 73.50 to 63 and then 65 to 61, and that was like over 800% in ROE on that trade. So we were ready, hedged up for the drop. Like we saw the drop coming, we saw a pullback coming, and I told everyone, hey, stay hedged. Like the technicals did not look good. We saw a bearish divergence on RSI and a bearish divergence on MFI and a rising wedge. So like the technicals correlated with the news, which was fake, but then again the technicals were real. Back to you, Lena.
Yeah, so this article actually was published on September 5th, the day after the drop. This AI tracked unusual market behavior before today's big crypto drop. News spread that Goldman Sachs was sidelining plans to open its cryptocurrency trading desk, but then the report that showed the opposite caused the market to take a huge dump. Some market analysts saw someone take a 10K Bitcoin short position while the whole market sentiment has been positive. Top analysts have been questioning why someone would take the 74 million short position so quickly. It didn't make sense. And
So
only a few days after he started shorting, there's some bearish news that came out.
our perspective on this, I believe, what date did that article come out?
September 5th.
Okay, so there's a September 5th video or a September 6th video that's on maybe the 4th. I don't know if they published it that day, the day before, day after, but I woke up that night at I think like 2 a.m. and just looked at my phone, and I got an app that tells me all the different crypto exchanges and prices and what's going on. And Bitfinex had a $75 to $80 markup above all other exchanges. And what we saw happen, it wasn't a $74 million short. What it was a hidden buy wall. Somebody with cash, with fiat, put a hidden buy wall on Bitfinex. He brought the chart up, and I'm trying to find that the buy wall. 17 million. So okay, this is BitMEX. Let me go to the Bitfinex chart. I'm on Tensor, and if I can find that exact moment in time again, Bitfinex. So what happened was somebody put a hidden buy wall there, and what he did is he just let shorts keep building up and short right into him, and he was just absorbing all of that in cash. What that tells me is someone came in and I think I found it on the chart. 12,000. What they ended up doing is they loaded up BTC at a certain price. They created a price floor that allowed everyone to short into him. So it was a cash buyer doing it with cash and fiat. And the reason we know that is because the Bitcoin USD, BTC USD longs chart, they didn't even spike. It didn't do anything. But the BTC USD shorts chart built up, shorting into that. And when somebody shorts, they're essentially borrowing to short. So what this buyer did is he kept the price up, he propped it up, and he bought that 74 million in cash. So I'm not sure where their analysis said that it was a short. What is that chart? Okay, so that chart just showing the price, and that was all those peaks on the blue chart in blue. Is that just short volume? That's shorting during the dip. But anything that happened before then, I'll go over that in the BTC analysis once I'm sharing my screen here a little later. So I think that's not fake news. It's bad analysis because it's showing the exact opposite of what happened. Probably just added more FUD.
Yeah, this news everybody was looking at. So a lot more people because of this thought it was manipulation. So the next news, which is good, is Trump's new SEC hire can possibly boost Bitcoin ETF being approved by the end of this month. So Elad Reisman, the newly appointed member of the SEC, could be the missing piece in tilting the balance in favor of Bitcoin ETF approval. He has a strong stance on fair regulation of cryptocurrency. He's spoken at the Senate Banking Committee hearing earlier this year. His statement said, the SEC must examine and re-examine its rules, regulations, and guidelines to ensure that they are still working as intended to accomplish the SEC's mission. This is most recently manifested in areas such as data protection and cybersecurity, as well as the emergence of new investments and technologies such as ICOs and blockchain. That to me sounds like he's supportive of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency cause. And hopefully, this will help us out at the end of this month.
I also see several factors playing in ETF coming out. One of them with Backed. So Backed is running futures which are settled in BTC. There's several reasons we could see an ETF because Backed is trying to push not an ETF but Bitcoin futures settled in BTC with just an overnight hold and no leverage. No leverage means so it's going to be like spot buy, spot sell, where people can buy Bitcoin a day and get it at its price, buy Bitcoin at the price today and get the delivery the day after, right? So it's kind of like buying on Coinbase and then receiving your coin the next day. And Bakkt has a lot of institutional investors, institutional traders on there, and it's international. And so it's going to provide them with exposure and a state of security where they don't have to like hold their coin on a different exchange, where Bakkt's going to provide custody as well, as opposed to just an ETF. Another reason was it a Citibank, that article I was kind of chatting with you about not too long ago. Citigroup is announcing a Bitcoin security that is also going to compete. So here we have various entities trying to compete to launch the next investment vehicle that's going to be widely available on like NYSE, on normal exchanges, and we have an ETF. So it's like a race at this point of who's going to get their product out first.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. So I'm going to move forward to a piece of FUD news, actually. The OKEX founder Star Shu arrested by Shanghai police over alleged investment fraud. So he was taken custody because he was involved in a fraudulent scheme regarding the WFEE coin. He was put through a round of questioning to get to the bottom of these rumors.
And I believe he was released the next day. I think that's what one of our analysts just told me.
Yeah, just 24-hour period of being in custody.
And that created that second dip. We saw a couple of dips happen. This was one of them. This was the last one. And then the SEC banning, or they paused, they suspended the ETN out of Switzerland, I believe, or out of Sweden. The Swedish ETN, and I'll talk about those when I go into price analysis. So, but it doesn't really involve the exchange or BTC, so I'm not sure why that happened. But I mean, he's just a big figure getting arrested for an ICO scam, and we know like ICOs are really sketchy. So
yeah, founder of OKCoin, OKEX. So he's big.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is actually a really, really good news for us. Canada's first Bitcoin mutual fund has been launched.
And that is really exciting. For those of you that do not know the difference between a mutual fund and a hedge fund, a mutual fund is long only. A mutual fund trades in one position, and that position is long, right? The difference between a hedge fund and a mutual fund, a hedge fund goes long and short, and that's why we say we hedge short. That's why I use the term hedge quite a bit. And it's he said we're coming through a little quiet on the audio. So essentially a mutual fund trades long only. So it's like they don't short the market. They long and they profit take. Right? It's like buy low, sell high. A hedge fund can trade futures and short the market and create dumps. Now here, we're probably going to see some more accumulation happen. We're going to see this mutual fund hopefully trade upwards. I'm not sure how big. Does it say the size or the amount of money, or you see granted mutual fund by BSCC?
Well, it will only be available to accredited investors. And the trust will only be available on NeoConnect, a funds distribution platform.
Nice. So it's slightly restricted. Accredited investors are, some people with real deal wealth. So it's good to expose. It's a good way to create exposure. And the fact that Canada's doing this, the fact that Sweden launched an ETN that just got suspended by the SEC from trading in the US, what that does is literally it's creating the race for the next ETF, for the next step that's going to set us in an uptrend. And after this news, we saw the chart react positively, and then it came back down to retest some of the lows. Do you have any more articles for us, Lena?
Yeah, just one more. This just came out. So unfortunately, SEC decides to take their first action against the crypto hedge fund, published 16 hours ago. The crypto asset management agreed to pay $200,000 to settle claims that it violated securities laws by not registering with regulators. The U.S. financial watchdogs issued a cease and desist order to the company. I think Georgia, you said that this wasn't that big of a deal because it was just a fine.
So yeah, so they issued a cease and desist order. Okay, so there's a cease and desist order is pretty big. I kind of missed that earlier, but then $200,000 fine. That's not too big considering they raised what 3.7 million, 33 million. Scroll on.
37 million in assets by the end of 2017.
And it's from 44 investors. And I think where these guys messed up is, as a hedge fund, you're supposed to go after accredited investors, and especially if you're dealing with crypto assets, you can't solicit. They literally have to come to you. It has to be family offices. You can't advertise that you're a hedge fund. You can't advertise raising money rounds. You have to be like in-house, or it's really tricky. And what this fund ended up doing, they solicit investors through their website, through social media accounts, traditional media outlet interviews. So you can't, as a hedge fund, you can't go and you can't say, hey, we're raising money for this fund. I know a lot of funds did that, but that's what's going to expose you to liability. And I think they just had a really terrible legal team if they didn't know that.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's about it for me. I think now's the time that I'm going to turn it to you to show us some TA for what's to come next.
So I'm going to hop on the chart, and are we seeing Tensor? Not quite seeing Tensor. What is going on? Hang on real quick.
No problem. I stopped sharing, so.
Okay. I lost my screen. Let me go ahead and grab it real quick. Oh my god, display capture. Why is my screen all black? Give me just a second, guys. That is really odd. I might have to restart the live stream for the TA portion.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and restart the live stream really quick. All right, and I believe we are back. Let me know in a comment if we are back. We should be live again. All right, awesome. And my screen should be showing. So let's go to the BTC chart first. I wanna highlight what's going on. We did see two dips, and they were somewhat FUD oriented. Kind of move price action a little bit more. We saw one dip come out on the OKX, and then right around this low, we started saying, hey guys, like if you, for the margin traders in our community, said, hey, right at 61, we're starting to pick out long positions and securing a long. And then we saw the market rally. It was just like one big candle, and when these come in so violently, it's like an inverse bar, and I'm not a big fan of those candles. But it moved price action up, and afterwards we saw another couple of dips. And here's what's important. We trade futures, I trade futures, and what happened on the futures chart was a lot of stop hunting. If my stop wasn't below the previous low every time, they just kept coming down and stopping me out. I got stopped out several times. It was really irritating, and that tells me that someone doesn't want us accumulating futures at that low, and they're December futures, so they've got a likelihood to go up quite a bit if we hit a Q4 rally. Another interesting part on my chart is, I'm gonna go ahead and open up my indicators. The yellow line is BTC USD longs, and the red line is BTC USD shorts. And we just saw longs just now starting to leverage up. What was happening here, if you go back to when Bitfinex, there was that big buy, that $74 million buy we were talking about that was claimed to be a short. What happened was, if it was a $74 million just net short with not enough supply holding the price up, that would be $74 million dump, right? But instead what happened is there was a big buy wall, and what it did is it propped the price up while shorts were loading up. So somebody came in and bought in cash, bought on spot a lot of BTC. And how do we know it was spot? So I think it was right here. That was the first. How do we know it was a spot buy? Well, if you look at longs, they didn't spike. What spiked was the shorts. So longs and shorts are borrowed. Spot is not on this chart. Spot is just like natural price action. So this buyer came in over here and he put up a big buy wall, right? And shorts just kept shorting into it, trying to bring the price down because there was an arbitrage opportunity. And what I mean by that, Bitfinex was trading at $80 higher than any other exchange. So Bitfinex shorts like, oh my God, this must be wrong. So we're just going to keep shorting and shorting and shorting to bring the price down because of the arbitrage there. Once price goes back down and tapers off, then we're going to see our shorts be profitable. And it actually kind of went against them because this was a spot buy. Back to leveraging, we're seeing longs just start leveraging once again down here into that low. And I do still have the fractal play, and we're looking like, I mean, I still want to see price get back up above 6,400, above that 38.2 fib level. The fractal should line up once I move it over a little. So we're just going to do initial peak. Maybe spread this out, the timeline. What are we at? 240, let's go to 120. All right, so there's a really interesting fractal. I have a link to that fractal in the video description. It's on our Medium post. And I'm just gonna line it up right there. So we've got our swing low to our initial peak, swing low, initial peak. This was what the short squeeze that really triggered shorts to squeeze early in April. And once that happened with the shorts in April, oh, that's what's going on. Once that happened in April, that's when we went on that rally. Once we went on that rally in April, things got interesting. We went on a 30-day rally. Bitcoin did about 50%. Alts went on a surge, and we called for a short squeeze earlier this month, and we saw shorts start dropping off. Right, we saw this massive drop in shorts. And I'm going to go ahead and highlight that with an arrow. So we saw a massive drop in shorts, but it wasn't enough to get us to break the downtrend, right? And that's what's important with a short squeeze. So what I think is happening is the market is kind of coming back to a fractal, to a formation, to what's worked in the past to get BTC to break out and cause like a real surge. And that's what we saw in April on that Bitcoin halal news, right? When Bitcoin went halal, we went on this really big hike, and it was, I think, a 13% candle, and it set us out of the downtrend. Where we are on this fractal, I think we're still in that phase 5 of it, because there's phase 1 is from swing low to swing high, and then we get a higher low. We go in a channel, knife down. This knife right here, right? We expected it, we shorted, we made about over 800% on the first trade, and then like another 200% on the second trade. And now we're back into this long position, probably looking to hedge at the top just in case it doesn't work out. But I do want to see price start forming another channel, just to complete the formation before the big leg up. And as we do that, I'd like to see shorts go back up, and probably I want to see a shorts go to a new all-time high, right? Once we get more shorts into the market, that's what's going to cause a squeeze. Because at this previous level, back at the previous all-time high, we couldn't squeeze out. And this whole time, whenever shorts are going up, a rising in prices is not making a new low. That means there's cash buyers, spot buyers coming in and propping the price up instead of leveraging their coins. And we know that because longs, the yellow line, has been very stagnant, right? It's not rising. It just made these two spikes at this low. So this is when we're really starting to see leverage longs borrow money on their BTC to bring the price up. I think what's going to happen is shorts are going to rise, price is going to rise. We have another shakedown before the next big target. Any questions on BTC, on the chart, on the analysis? All good. Thanks, Rafik. Hola, Sochi. What's going on Facebook? All right, so let's cover Ether. I had a lot of questions on ETH today. And you guys, I said, hey, Go might be a good buy. It looks like it's doing a bullish triangle on, it's a triangle bottom. It's not really a bullish triangle. It's called a ascending triangle. It could be a bottom formation. So if this thing takes off, it could be a good technical entry. This is not financial advice, right? It's just my technical opinion. I want to see it break out of this formation for an entry. I would be trading Go if it does break out. It'll probably go back up to the previous range and retest 783. So it's not necessarily a big trade, not as of yet. Let me go into ETH. Do you have any questions on the fractal, Lena? No? Not quite. Alright, so ETH is having a really good bounce on pretty good volume. I'm not seeing reflexivity just yet, but it looks like the chart wants to go up almost as fast as it wants to come down, right? We saw this doji candle, which is essentially a reversal candle. I hate trading just based on candles. There is no reversal formation yet. Did ETH hit capitulation? I think so.
I hope so.
I'm not gonna call it bottom, right? I think it's too soon. Everyone's asking, hey, like, what about ETH? I'm like, if you're gonna do it on margin, don't touch it. If I was to spot buy ETH, I'd spot buy it and then put a stop like below the previous low. How do you feel about Ether, ETC? You think we're gonna see a flippening between classic and regular Ethereum? Any thoughts on that, Lena?
No way.
No way. No.
No way.
I am a fan of Ether going to proof of stake, right? I think anytime a token does that, it really increases the price. Whenever we start seeing nodes, and what happens is coins kind of get locked up. The supply gets locked up for whoever has these nodes, and that's typically a good thing. I'm a fan of nodes. Because it locks up supply and miners start kind of staking their coins instead of just selling them on the market sell. If you look at Zcoin, once they went to proof of stake, it went on a rager, right? I mean, forget all the selling right now when the bear market, but when we got into Zcoin last year, we got into Zcoin right around these lows for this massive run. It went from $7 to $140 a coin. So I think if POS can roll out on ETH, the sooner the better. Right. All right, I'm gonna take some altcoin requests. You guys hit me with some alts. Let me know what you want me to cover. I'll cover it for you. You've got about 30 minutes to cover altcoins today. Mana. All right, so Mana took another dip unexpectedly. This is one of my favorite tokens as far as like FA goes, because it's a little harder to devalue something that's tied to real estate. It's not quite real estate, but what it is, it's virtual real estate. We're seeing a double bottom. We're seeing a nice Dragonfly Doji on the daily input up RSI, just so I'm not. I do have a bullish bias towards this coin. Throughout the bear market, it made us over 1,000%. So I have a bullish bias. Cover the downtrend. So it's past the downtrend. Last time it broke out of the downtrend, it did something very similar, except for it did not set a lower low. It's currently range trading. I would tighten a stop, right? So we saw it break out, come back down, break down one more time before the big run up. I think it's at somewhat of a price floor. It's gonna be hard to say it's not gonna dip any lower, or it's gonna start running. RSI on the daily is still below 40. I want to see it get back up about 51, 52. What's going on, Matt? We got Lumen. Let's cover Lumen. I got 2 requests on Lumen. So for those of you in Discord, we signaled Lumen. We did say it was somewhat of a relative bottom. It went on a big price hike yesterday, dipped down what the market expected. I did not stop myself out or get stopped out. I'm personally still currently long. One thing about Lumen is throughout this bear market, it's still setting higher lows, which is bullish. You got some pretty high targets on this, somewhat of a long-term hold hodl. It's one of my longer term trades. There's some bullish news about them, some acquisitions that they did. I do see a continuation for Lumen based on, we've seen some like Elliott wave charts that came in really nice from our analysts. I'm not a big Elliott wave trader, but our team thinks it's good. I think it's good. Any questions on Lumen, more specific, Fernando? You go ahead and 240, check for divergences. Not even in the extreme, right? 1-day RSI, still below 48. So the market, you know, past 2 days has been a little shaky. A lot of FUD coming out, a lot of uncertainty. So we're going to see coins react and show that. But while BTC was experiencing a sell-off, Lumens made quite some big gains. They got washed out and back for another gain. So, you know, 13% up, right back down to retrace to 0. But here it is, it's bouncing again. It's setting up not quite a double top. It's looking very interesting. Vet has been one of our swings. Really strong bounce on Vet. We should have expected this pullback on Vet, right? We're seeing RSI divergence, 1, 2, 3 divergent highs. And now we're seeing, is this a bull div? Not quite, but it had stopped at previous support, right? So theoretically, this could be set up to be a range trade. This is where it gets interesting. These are 3 white knights. If you get a close up here, and 3 white knight is a really it's somewhat like a reversal signal back to the upside. I would tend to stay clear from alts, right? Titan stops on alts unless they have momentum to the upside. Vet has that momentum to the upside, especially with this strong bounce. Back to the divergence. Anytime we see this on RSI, lower highs and then higher highs on the chart, that's worrisome, right? That signals pullback right there. There's another top that's higher on even a lower RSI that sells profit take. And now we can back down. RSI is moving back up. It's looking interesting. This is probably the first round of profit taking. If you're gonna Elliott wave this, let's put a fib, see if it bounced off the 50%, and it looks like it did. Look for more support and resistance zones. Right off the 50, right? I'd want to see what happens in this range further. It's even above the 38.2 or 38.2 fib. I bounced right off the 50, so this was a good knife catch. We want to see this continue to trade up. Especially with these 3 candles, I think VET's looking good. Zcoin. Man, another drop on Zcoin. So I talked about Zcoin and their nodes and what to expect. Is it below the previous range? It is. It's trying to find support. This is not looking too good for Zcoin. On the daily, RSI is starting to make these higher lows, right? So it's something that's positive. We did see big buy volume come in and try to pick the price up a few times. And alts, I mean, everything that's an altcoin right now is almost it's back into that capitulation zone, right? So we're seeing a lot of tokens sell off aggressively. We're having another like altcoin crash in a sense. A lot of red. So I'd expect a lot of unison, and a continuation of a downtrend up until we have another turning point. Let me go back to CoinMarketCap and check dominance ratings. I know BTC's at 57. Alts seem to turn around and bounce at the 17%. So we want to see if they can maintain that 17% dominance or over 17% dominance. That was the last altcoin head turn. And a little bit of struggle on CoinMarketCap. Victoria, I've answered XLM a few times in chat, right? And I talked about it. I'm still holding my lumens. I didn't get shaken out the other day, especially because the market was in unison. All right, so where are we at? We're at 18.6. Last 2 bounces came off 17% dominance, and are we going to see another bounce off 17%? That could be likely. That's just where support is. If we don't, and we keep seeing BTC climb, that might be a good thing for BTC. That might mean that there's an ETF coming. There's something in the works if we're seeing that. I don't think it's very worrisome. The chart still made a higher low last night. All still look good. I want to see them bounce off that 17% dominance to kind of come back in and pick up do another round of altcoin shopping. Except for the rare gems like VET, Lumens, things with momentum, things that have looked good consistently throughout the bear. ZRX, is it bottomed out? I don't think so. We still don't see like a reflexive volume. I do see somewhat of I'd wait for a reversal formation. I don't see one on ZRX. I haven't said anything bullish on ZRX in a while. Let me go to Litecoin. Yeah, straight up. I agree with Charlie. I agree that BTC is most promising right now, especially with an possible ETF with backed launching with everything that we're seeing as far that could be bullish. Litecoin. Whatever happened to LightPay, Lena? Do you have anything on LightPay? No.
I don't think it happened.
Light.
I was pretty upset about it actually because I was holding Litecoin for that.
So we haven't seen LightPay. Charlie said he's not buying his Litecoin back ever. I think we're starting to see a little bit of the capitulation knife down. I had said that Litecoin's like Ripple. It likes to capitulate before the true rally. I mean, we saw when people want to say manipulation, right? If you want to talk about manipulation, this is what it's going to look like. I never blame losses on manipulation, but when you see a chart go on this big surge, when you see a chart go up 250%, almost 330%, but only do so after a severe drop, right? It went from a range trade to a big shakeout, right? I mean, they totally destroyed the stops. The drop of 40%, people capitulate, right? This is what manipulation is going to look like. But then again, that's how markets work. That's how, it's not easy to make money in markets. If it was, then we'd all be rich like we were in 2017. So back to LTC. Fundamentally, I don't see LightPay coming out. Stick to technicals. It doesn't have momentum. I tried to margin trade this to the long side and I got stopped out and I just haven't touched it. I have no reason to think that it's gonna rally for good reason. I don't have reason to do that. When are we due to hear about the ETF? I don't have info at the moment. So traffic, there's supposed to be an announcement on the 21st. My fractal play is around that date. I think that's where our fractal is. Let me go back to that, set some Feb time zones. Let's go swing low to peak. Doesn't quite coincide. We'll go off these two. Alright, so we're going to go from the higher low to the top of channel 1. And that should give us that's where the big movement came in. The BTC jumping from 67 up to 81, right? So what we're going to do is essentially line it up the same way from the bottom of higher low 2. So there's news that's supposed to come out on the 21st. My fractal saying September 26, 27 is the big candle up. So we should have some kind of announcement this month. Which one is it that's coming out this month, Lena? Is it the Pro 10 for the index?
The Van Wyck one?
The Van Wyck. So yeah, there's a lot of ETFs scheduled to be announced. And then they're also reviewing 9 previously rejected ETFs. And we also have Backed coming out in November, right?
Yeah, Backed coming out in November. But my concern is there's a lot of people saying the 28th we'll see a dump.
For what?
For ETF rejection and also altcoin futures coming out, allowing people to short altcoins.
An altcoin futures coming out.
That's just what I heard from other people. I don't have sources for that. So
okay, so I'm seeing on the 20. I'm seeing if the fractal plays out and we continue to trend, which we want to see. We want to wrong fib. I want to see price enter into an upwards channel, right? And I think our target here was like 71 for a breakdown. But I'm thinking if we don't see a lower low now until the 27th, I'm thinking it's an up move. Last ETF rejection was everybody was trying to short it, right? And what happened? It was priced in. So at this point, I think rejections are priced in. And we actually had a new subscriber come in and he says, hey, there's this ProShares ETF announcement. It's going to get rejected. I'm ready to short. I'm getting all these other short signals from all these other discords. I'm like, we've been long since we longed $6,040 for this up move. And then we sold 73 and 74. We shorted there. Because the ETF was priced in. If you guys follow us on Medium, there's a link to the Medium page. I've posted nothing but like bullish articles since then here, and those are short squeeze. So we longed for the short squeeze, and yeah, well, while the market was shorting because of the bearish ETF or the rejection, I think rejections are priced in. I'm seeing an up move on the 27th. So, I posted anatomy of short squeeze on the 19th. I posted 4 reasons we're bullish. This was on the 13th. And we bought 60-40. We caught the knife and we sold the top and shorted the top. So, my stance is we still don't have a lower low, right? Back to BTC, we still don't have a lower low. We're seeing a very similar setup to what we saw in April. It's not, here's where it gets sketchy. We didn't get that upwards channel. But we're seeing a broadening wedge. Broadening wedges are typically an up formation, right? And it's actually broken out of the broadening wedge. I want to see price get back to 6,400, and we're at 63.22 currently, and that would make me feel a lot better about the fractal play. A whole lot better than I felt at 61. But then when we go back to the fractal, we're supposed to see 3 higher lows, and we do have 3 higher lows, and this one actually didn't even bounce off the trend line, so that tells us there's a little more support above the trend line until we break further down. That's my viewpoint. Metal, MTL, it's been a good hold, hasn't it? So we do know quite a bit about metal. There's a lot in the works. We've been holding this one for some time. We're waiting for a press release. Let's go to 240. A little bit of a bearish div, right? And this is, we're seeing spindle tops. I expect a pullback, but then where's support? Where's resistance? We're out of the range, right? So this is our first range. We got 1, 2, 3 touches, a little bit more of a broader range. Our last range is here, so there's going to be a couple areas of support that we want to test. I'm personally holding this one through the news, through the announcement, and just kind of letting it run. I'm not going to sit here and overtrade, especially when BTC is making big up and big down moves. We're seeing a big sell-off in alts, and we're seeing metal actually make a high, right? Coming out of a really long-term downtrend. If you guys are not familiar with metal, when metal first started trading, there was a lot of excitement about it. And then right here, this big candle down, it washed out everyone. Why? What happened here? One of their biggest pre-ICO investors market dumped all his tokens. And when that happened, it just kind of destroyed metal. And since then, metal hasn't had any good announcements. They've been under the scenes up until recently, right? We know they have a lot in development. Yeah, it's looking bullish on the daily. RSI is at 57. This is the first token I see with an RSI above 50 today. Back to the 4-hour. Where do we expect to see support? Where do we expect to possibly see a retracement to? I'm going to take last swing low, last swing high, see where the 50 is. And the 61.8. So 61 points can be right here, almost in no man's land, right? So I expect to bounce off the 50. I expect to bounce off the 10K range, that 10K range. I don't know if it's gonna. That's where I think it's gonna pull back. I haven't profit taken yet. Lumens. I covered Lumens not too long ago. Lido, is it doing something funky? I bounced right back after yesterday's sell-off. So, little div. I think it's a range, it's definitely a range trade. with a lot of volume, right? And that's what's important right now. All right, well, I think that's about it. Do you want to cover anything else, Lena?
No, I just hope that you are right, that we can hold this range and go up to 6,600. Really just hope for the best, honestly, till the end of this month.
So let me go back to the 1 day, right? A lot of people are comparing this to 2014, right? The correction. And Blender and I, one of our analysts and I, we kind of spent some time on it last night. I had some trend lines. Let me go back to a log chart. Whoa. Remove all drawing tools. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So you're starting, I was looking for essentially like the first double bottom that we can see, true double bottom. This is one, but if you go to a line chart, it's not quite. So back to, once this correction broke out of the downtrend, right? I mean, there was some choppiness. We did have a double bottom and it traded below it, but then it really took off. This level of like $317 is where I'm comparing 6,500 to in current day metrics, right? Because it traded below it, and once it broke above and closed above and retested it and cleared, we were good to go. And there's several ways to look at this one. I haven't been a big fan of that since day one of the correction, but then, you know, it depends how you want to draw this trend line. If you want to look at it from this perspective, right? We're almost past it. If you want to even extend it further to capture this peak, right? We bounced off of it. If you want to cover this last peak, we're seeing somewhat of that first double bottom set in right around April lows. So let's go to a horizontal line, and I'm gonna do a horizontal line up here so it makes a little more sense. Get rid of that. And we did see some trading below that first definite double bottom. We did see some trading happen here. I think once we clear this 65, right? So we got to clear 65. I want to get back above that neckline at 67. If we do that one more time, I'd get a lot more bullish and confident in this. But once again, I think the fractal is still in play. We are head short though. So the thing is, when we trade these futures, we make sure we're protected either way, right? Just because I'm bullish, I'm not going to trade with a bullish bias. I'm going to make sure if the chart goes against me that I'm protected. And that's one thing we do at Coin Observatory. That's one thing our community does. That way we're profiting even if we're wrong. I mean, I might have a bias, I might have an opinion, but having a system is a lot more important than having an opinion. Having a stop loss on anything is a lot more important than, so systems are more important than actual opinions or predictions or anything like that. So I might have a bullish bias, but am I head short? I am head short. I'm ready for it to break down. I don't see a down move, and I'm ready for it to go up because I see an up move. That's,
stop losses are really important.
Mark, which do I long, XBTU or XBTZ? I'm gonna explain to you why I do what I do. If I long XBTU and it's over like September 18th, and we go on an end of year run like we did last year, I would have shot myself in the leg. Then I'll be sitting there looking for my next play, looking for my next entry. This last swing up, we made about 800% when we trade futures. When I trade futures, I'm not scalping. I'm looking for a really sustainable long position that's gonna continue rallying. I'm gonna post a link to our article on Medium on how we margin trade, so you have a better idea, and it'll kind of explain. I'm gonna go ahead and share that with you. in the chat. So essentially I'm looking for XBTZ for a long, and I'm hedging short on XBTU. Why is that? Because if you do go on that end of year run, I want to have a futures position through December that I don't have to worry about, because we're sitting here and we're trying to catch the knife, and we're essentially buying the yearly low. And it looks like if you bought the last yearly low and then you bought the next low, well, guess what? The next low was higher than the previous low. One of our longs was 5,700 and 5,800, and we added at 62 for the inverse head and shoulders. Right here, we bought this on reflexivity, and we added here, and once this broke out, we were in that 1,400% you see here, some of these gains in this picture, or we bought 58, we bought 63, and that was at 82. So we long from 63 to 82 on a December future for 1,100 and 1,400%. So that's stuff that we do day in and day out whenever we're trading these futures. We want a sustainable long. So December is going to be the long. We want to ride it out. So we bought the 57.63, and then we longed 60.40 for the leg up, and then shorted 73 on U for the leg down. And once again, back to buying these lows after having bought the yearly low, which was 57.58 we saw in February. But this area again, was I able to buy that yearly low again? I was not. I wasn't able to do that. Why? Because I had a higher low. Are we able to buy 15.9 again? Were we able to this last leg down? We were not. We were not able to buy this last low again. So we bought the little higher low. And then we saw a lot of wicks, right? When we see all these big wicks, that's essentially, it's really dangerous whenever you have stops, because they want to stop you out. These are stop hunts. So that answers if I'm long in XBTU or XBTZ and why. Awesome. All right, well, fam, thank you all for joining in. Hopefully the market stays going this way. Sorry about canceling the workshop yesterday. I had a mild medium case of food poisoning. I'm back. I'm obviously back. I needed some rest. I'm gonna reschedule the workshop to tomorrow. I'll post an announcement on it, and it's about hedging. So I'll catch you guys on Discord. Lena, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the articles.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And catch y'all on the next Power Hour.
Awesome.